I'm working on stitching down my images on my bookcase quilt. I just wanted to show you some of my progress. Now I'm doing a free motion quilting stitch, as you know, and I'm also doing what's called raw edge applique. I'm sure you know what that is. I've just cut out my images, just raw edge, just cut them out and glued them down. And I'm using a free motion quilting stitch around the edges. Now, with free motion quilting around a raw edge applique, you're going to get frayed edges, obviously, because it's raw edges. So, like on my teddy bear, as you can see, what I do is I go around once to secure it after I've glued it down the edges, and then I'll go around again. I'll go around again and again, quite a few times on my raw edge applique, and then into the design I'll stitch around a design. This quilt here is stitched about, now it's going to be with some echo stitching, about every inch or so with my raw edge, with my free motion quilting stitch. Now people might be a little bit hesitant about raw edge because it's like, oh my gosh, raw edge, fabric frays. Well, yeah, of course it does. From a distance, just pull this back ever so slowly. From a distance, my images are awesome. If you get up close, yeah, they almost, not sloppy, but like, I'm not a perfectionist. Like I just stitch that down around and around, and you see these little frays. Well, people are like, oh my goodness, it's fraying. I'm like, yeah, but it only frays up to the stitching. And I've really stitched that down. I've really stitched that down. So what I'll do is I'll go back and I'll get all these little bits out. And then I'll take a tiny little pair of scissors and I'll cut away those little frays, and then it'll only fray up to the stitches, right? so I'm not really bothered. That's what raw edge applique is all about. From a distance, it's awesome. Even from up close, I think it's awesome. So there's my beer bottles. I've stitched around and then I've stitched in the actual design. My pot, I've stitched my flowers. Some of these, and I've stitched right there, but like my seed packets, I'm just going to leave. I've just stitched around the edges there. And again, up on top here, my teapot, as you can see, I've done it in black. It looks a little bit sloppy, but it doesn't. It looks, you know, you come away from it, you have to literally be, 5 inches away and say, oh wow, there's a lot of frayed edges there. Ugh, it's wonderful. So that's my progress. I'm going to be stitching all of these in a straight stitch. I'm going to be stitching all my paneling down. As I showed you before, I've done my top shelf. I'm not stitching down my money. I've stitched around the bottles and again around the designs here, my cupcakes. And now what I will be doing, I'm working on this shelf here. Again, this is just raw edge I've done, but on these pieces here, I've just stitched them down a little bit with just a fairly crooked, but I'm going to go back on these square images here with nice square lines on here, and I'm going to actually do I'm going to get my other machine out. I'm going to do a black blanket stitch. I've already stitched them down. I've stitched the images here. Oh, look at this guy. Look, I gotta go back because it looks like his nose is dripping. Look, he has a pointy nose because of my stitch. Oh, it's so funny. Look. My free motion quilting stitch. He has a pointy nose. His nose is running. I gotta go back and take that out. Maybe or maybe not. So anyway, I'm gonna go with a black. Oops, get my camera focused here. Come on, handy dandy camera, focus. There you go. Sorry about that, folks. So also on my pantry items, like my cashews, I'm going to do a nice black blanket stitch. And let me just see if I can pull this up here. sort of working on this a little bit here and there. Oops, my glue came off there. So on my pantry shelves here, especially, I'm going to really make these nice and uniform with a nice thick black folk looking, a nice big fat blanket stitch there. But my cat, as you can see, I've already done him or her. I've just raw edged that. I've just gone around it and around it and around it. And then I will be echo stitching. Again, I'll be echo stitching every inch or so. These will be left, that will be left hanging to add some interest. This nice square here, I'll be doing a nice blanket stitch. Now my teddy bear, I did around and around and around the edges with my free motion quilting, and I did stitch in black some of the detail here and on his hat, but I will go back with brown because he's a little bit prominent. I'm just going to go back with a brown stitch, a brown thread, and just do it free motion quilt his nose and his eyes. Now it's very interesting. This quilt, I have used black thread. Let me pull this down here. I've used black thread on my quilt for my quilting. Even on the white cups, I have used black thread. But I put on my back, which is remember my old quilt top, or the quilt top I found, I use white. I use white thread. And I was thinking, because I didn't want to use black on this lovely old quilt top, but I thought, oh, I wonder if the stitching or the tension will be okay free motion quilting. For the most part, it's awesome. For the most part, the white turned out white on here. No tucks, how I pin based it. So I'm pleased about that. So my white stitching is here on the back, but then my black, as you can see, my black top stitching on the front of it. So if you can balance your tension properly, you can put two different colors in your sewing machine. Now I did a few little black bits in this dark blue, but I want to just go back with some white thread just to stitch that down, give that plate a little bit more dimension. And in the teapot, and maybe, no, I did this in black also, but just maybe some of it I'll go back and I'll highlight some and maybe a different color thread. But that's my quilt coming along. I'm free motion quilting. Just wanted to share you and give you my progress, my backing, my lovely quilt from another quilter. It's like a homespunny look. If you didn't see my other video on this, I had rescued this quilt top, an unfinished quilt top, for $2 from a yard sale. And I've used it for the back of my quilt. Oh, there goes my phone. Okay, folks, so I'm signing out, and I'll keep you posted on my bookcase quilt. All right, see you, bye.